Hey, everybody. We all have thousands of thoughts per day, and some studies suggest we have a new thought every 10 seconds, and up to 80% of those thoughts are negative. Think about that for a minute and just how difficult we're making things for ourselves. Collin Henderson noticed that trend in his own life as a D1 athlete and then later as a high performance sales rep. He noticed the power of both positive and negative thoughts and how a positive mindset had a huge impact on his career. Now, as a mindset coach, he's teaching others how their daily habits can have a monumental impact on both their personal and professional lives. This one is packed with great content. In fact, you may want to take notes as Collin offers some real gems that smack you right in the face. This is time to invest in yourself, quiet the mind, and soak up the lessons we get today from Collin Henderson. Thanks for being on here, Collin. I appreciate it. I really love your content. I love mindset, programming, coaching, those discussions. I think a lot of people gravitate towards that. And I wonder, the brain is so interesting, right? And mindset, when we talk about that, is so interesting. And it's such a big, detailed field. What drew you to that? Because the mind is very powerful, good and bad, right? And you're right there in something that I think is very important to all of us.
Yeah, so what drew me in was just not knowing what I didn't know and just getting used to kind of just struggling emotionally, mentally, just being used to living in fear, living in shame, living in doubt, performing not to fail, performing to get validation. And I think, the prefrontal cortex, the frontal lobe, as you probably well know, Greg, is not developed till you're about 25.
Mhm.
Males maybe a little longer. Cougs from South Puget Sound, maybe even longer,
That's two
Greg.
of us,
Another
right? Yeah.
Ralph Buckley, Washington Coug alumni. It was, I think, in my early 20s playing football and baseball at WSU, and I remember having a conversation with myself. I was like, why am I always stressed? I remember playing against Stanford, a weekend series, and it's like, I'm on deck. Like, why am I so nervous? Like, I just started like questioning, why does my nervous system feel like this in a game, but sometimes like in a Tuesday non Pac-10 Pac-12 game, I'm fine, or in an inter squad scrimmage, I'm fine, or why are in some moments like my heart starts beating super fast? And my junior year in football at Washington State, I had a really great off season. Didn't have a great sophomore year, had a good freshman year, didn't have a good had a good off season. I committed to my off season like running and lifting and catching passes, and had a great spring and a great fall camp. But the 2 hours before our first game against Idaho Thursday night, like I had a panic attack.
Mhm.
So I was like, what is wrong? Like, why can't I control my feelings and emotions? And as I got into business and sales, I was old enough to like really ask for help, or really, seek support, or really start to get curious. And I started learning, let's shout out Brett McDaniel,
Mhm.
mutual friend of ours, who was a really early teacher in these things. When I got curious about the mind, I did a, like a workshop for one of his classes. I think he was coaching basketball at Sumner High School. He taught
Mhm.
leadership, and he called me after the class. He's like, "Man, that talk you did on the power of thought, like, I want you to look up Trevor Moat. Like, he's a mental conditioning coach. Like, you can do this for a living."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What is mental conditioning?" I didn't even know that there was a field like this. So once I saw that there's other people, it's less, I would say, um, like the academic, esoteric, sport psychology. That is some of it, but it's like real practitioners who've been in the trenches, who could know the language. Like, I was really interested in like learning from those people.
Mhm.
And when I saw what it did to my life, having daily drills to develop mental skills, like treating this like a gym, a workout, a mental
Mhm.
workout, mind gym. And once I started to like do these things, start teaching these things, I just saw a massive change. So I would say I was like probably 34 when I really started going really deep, and I saw massive, massive changes. Long
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah. No, it's a great answer. And I think, you know, I know you focus on athletes and business people and sales, and that's all relevant, and I've experienced all of that. But, if we take a step back, this is something that affects everybody, and depending which research you follow, we have 6,000 thoughts a day. So that's like one every 10
Mm,
seconds. And depending which research you believe, 75% of those are negative. So whether you're, an athlete, a business person, a stay at home parent, right? A coach, we're dealing with this all the time. And we hear about mindset, but we constantly have to apply it to be successful with it. So it's really something that affects everyone.
mhm. I agree, Greg. Yeah, it's true. So I look at defining the word mindset. Mindset, by definition, is a conditioned set of beliefs that drive behavior. So we are conditioning our beliefs about how we see ourselves, about our past, about our present, about our future, about our skills, about our neighborhood, our spouse, the economy. No matter what you're looking at, you're conditioned, and we have this device now that's conditioning us. We have peers and people that we hang out with, family members that condition us, what we listen to, what we watch.
Mhm,
But I lean into research from the Edge Institute. What you say to yourself has 10 times the power.
mhm,
So we're conditioning ourselves on a subconscious level. There are kind of two minds. The conscious mind is aware. The subconscious is like autopilot. And 97% of our behaviors are controlled by that subconscious. And you mentioned 6,000, we say about over 6,000 conscious thoughts. I've read research up to 70,000 subconscious thoughts.
mhm,
So if we're not programming what I call our inner game or our thought life, if we're not intentionally, because I think a lot of us, we're living by default versus living by design. Your self-awareness, your self-image, your actions, your habits, your behaviors, your self-talk, is it by design or by default? So mindset training is working with a coach or working with a, I mean, I think therapy is great. Like, but having some stuff that you intentionally start to assess, is what I'm thinking about real? These thought pattern loops that I keep recycling of shame and fear, are they
mhm,
true?
mhm,
Well, what do I want to experience in my life? Who do I want to be? And what if we set aside some time, whether it's journaling or prayer, or do a self-talk walk, or gratitude, or you visualize, use mental imagery to start, instead of, worry is visualizing what you don't want. What if we start to picture using all of our senses and imagine, what we do want, how we want to impact the world. Now, what is that going to do to our nervous system? These subconscious beliefs. Carl Jung once said, "What is not conscious becomes your fate."
mhm.
Earl Nightingale once said, old mindset teacher, old school, "You become what you think about most of the time, and that
Mhm.
is the strangest secret." But a lot of us don't have some coaching, don't have some
Yeah,
structure on how we're designing our thought life.
yeah. That's why I love this topic. I coach cross country high school kids, and I'm a runner myself, and I see this play out in my own running, in their running. Like a lot of sports, if you let yourself go to the negative, it can fall apart very quickly. And so you really have to be your own coach. You have to talk to yourself the way you would talk to your best friend that was, worried about something. And it's really that inner discussion that you're training people to apply. But it's hard. I mean, we talk about this, but we're like, I don't know why is our default to like it's like we default back to fight or flight, or we default back to the negative. I don't know if it's a protection thing or what, but it
Yeah.
feels like we default back there, and then you got to coach yourself back up.
Yeah, I look at, you mentioned percentages. The research I've read, National Science Foundation, 80% of human thoughts are negative and 95% of human thoughts are reoccurring. The brain is designed to survive, not thrive. How our species has, over time survived, cave woman, caveman days, the brain is more alert to threat and danger for our survival. So if you go around the corner and you see, oh, there's an apple tree, there's some food. You go around this corner and someone in your tribe was eaten by a saber tooth. You're more alert to be aware of that danger more than gain.
Mhm.
But now that we've evolved as a species to in these modern times, there's less physical threats. We've evolved internally to experience physical threats as the same as social threats. Do I belong? Do people like my idea? Am I fitting into the group? And as we've evolved as a species, that's also a tactic of survival. Is if
Yeah.
we can't fit into a group evolutionary, we're not going to survive if you're by yourself. So Michael Gervais, performance coach, was the performance psychologist with the Seahawks when they won the Super Bowl with Pete Carroll. He's now actually consulting with Coach McDonald
Mhm.
more on culture, but he says the number one epidemic in performance today is this acronym FOPO, fear of other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Because I feel this deeply. I'm a recovering perfectionist who's a people pleaser, who's codependent, who gets self-worth out of performance. So I think with social media, that's another vehicle where it's creating this false exposure of likes and views and how do I look? What do people think about me?
Yeah.
But I want to go back to kind of the kind of earlier questions you're talking about. Like, why don't people do this stuff? Like, why don't we have more? Well, because schools don't teach this. I
Right.
mean, you have if you never had worked out before, Greg, and you went to 24-hour fitness and you had all these machines and all these weights, like you don't know what to do.
Right.
So mental conditioning is no different. Like if you've never had a coach, you've never been exposed to concepts, and I think for some people it sounds very kind of woo woo. Oh, mindfulness and connecting to your feelings and like
Mhm.
some more masculine energy people like that. That's soft. I don't want to do it, but actually Navy SEALs do this type of work.
Mhm.
World-class athletes who are in the most rugged, rough conditions do this type of work. So looking at your development and your training, Greg, there are three things you can train is your body, your really technical skills, and your mind. So in adulthood, I think we understand physical fitness, sleep, hydration, exercise, fuel. There's plenty of things around that. Your technical skills around your craft, as in your work, whether you're a teacher, you're an engineer, whether you're in sales, whether you're a carpenter, you're working on your like business skills, like the knowledge of your industry.
Mhm.
But no one's spending time on this third bucket is your mindset,
Right.
self-awareness, self-talk, your identity, how to be in the present moment, how to practice courage, how to navigate through fear, how to respond quickly to adversity and failure, your process, your habits, your philosophy on being authentic, creativity. Um, that taught? Not really.
Mhm.
So, I'm really excited that this industry is growing. There's more of an appetite for it. I think, say what you want about social media, but it's a platform to normalize doing this work. So, yeah, I would maybe just pause here and if the listeners, thank you for joining in. On a scale from 1 to 10, how important is your mental fitness? You all say a 10, but question 2, from a time perspective, from 1 to 10, how much time are you intentionally developing your mental fitness? And people are like, "Well, how do I develop my mental fitness?" And that's kind of the first
Yeah.
step.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I wanna talk about it. That's why 'cause I think it's a superpower. It's one of the 3 things you talked about, but like we said before, you're in your head all the time, so it's exponentially more impactful of the 3 items you talked about. Um, so I do wanna come back to the lessons that you teach, and this is great. I like your story, though, and I want people to understand kind of how you came to this spot. You talked about the feeling you had and sharing the vulnerability of anxiety as an athlete. You found your way to Trevor Moawad, who passed away in 2021, but he had such a huge impact on a number of people, including you. And I'd love for you to say how you found your way to him, who he is, and the impact he had on your life and what you're doing today.
Yep, that's a great question. I love the origin story question. So I'd mentioned my kind of anxiety and fear as an athlete. Well, that carried over to my world in business and in sales. I was in life science sales for about 12 years, about 6 years in pharmaceuticals, about 6 years in device sales. So that pharmaceutical window, um, I had a fear of speaking in public dating back to when I was in 6th grade.
Huh.
Changed schools, was at Fruitland Elementary. My dad was the psychologist at Fir Grove Elementary. There's an honors program, so I got all these honors classes at Fir Grove. New kids, first week, I started stuttering when I was reading out loud and then that was a traumatic experience for
Yeah.
me. You may have heard of the book, The Body Keeps the Score.
Mhm.
Said differently, the issues are in the tissues. Those traumatic experiences are really stored in your nervous
Mhm.
system, and they're carried with that with you. So I kind of had this deep fear of speaking in public. Didn't really address it. Kind of stuttered here and there. When I was in pharmaceuticals, I couldn't control my fluency. I did some work. I did speech therapy. I did Toastmasters, but there were certain environments, and I realized when I didn't speak a lot in public, my fluency would get worse. So there was kind of a window when I was an oncology specialty sales professional. Like, you just don't get to see oncology very much. You don't get a lot of live reps, and my fluency kind of got worse. I got in my own head. We had verbal tests over the phone, and I was a wreck. My blood pressure was in the high 140s, high 150s, taking medicine for that. But I changed companies to device sales, and in that moment, I found when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Frankie Pretzel was my sales trainer, and he was teaching me about thoughts become things. Like attracts like, energy flows where focus goes, what you resist persists. There's these books on business and sales. Here's books on the mind. Read them.
Mm.
Here's 30 books on neuroplasticity, neuroscience, neurolinguistics, um, just cool stuff I've never been exposed to.
Mhm.
But also, I think what I want the listeners to really think about is, are you putting yourself in a position of your strength? Are you putting yourself in an environment that is conducive for what makes you come alive
Mhm.
versus forcing yourself to adapt to an area that maybe you're not built or designed to thrive in? I was in a better position in a company that the products and the customer type and a lot of reps and very open and supportive, but I got exposed to all these concepts. So I started researching them. I started implementing them. I started setting sales records. That's when I spoke to Brett McDaniel's class, and he called me, look up Trevor Moawad. You're doing the same thing. I'm like, Trevor Moawad, who's that? He's that works with Russell Wilson as a mental performance coach, works at Nick Saban in Alabama. And then I started looking at other practitioners. I was like, oh my gosh, like, he has a master's degree just like I do in education.
Mhm.
My master's in education has an emphasis in leadership. Trevor like taught at a high school for 3 or 4 years. Then he went to IMG Academy and kind of pioneered. So like, you don't have to have this traditional, PhD in psychology to be a student of how are habits formed. Um, how do you see yourself? How do you talk to yourself? I think was interesting when I was at WSU, we had sport psychologists kind of talk to us, but I never connected the dots. It never meshed. But Trevor was a storyteller.
Mhm.
Trevor knew how to do activities to make it engaging. He has worked with an NFL, NCAA. Like, he had stories of like how he helped. I mean, he's a great storyteller. So he presented in a way that felt different. So I started studying his stuff. And wouldn't you know it, if thoughts become things, a few years later, I've been blogging and I've written a few books at that time. A company was called Limitless Minds, was founded by Russell Wilson, Russell's brother Harrison Wilson, DJ Eitzen, and Trevor. So I got to work with Trevor at this company and build curriculum.
Wow.
So I got to like build curriculum, learn, watch him do his thing, and I think what was cool about Trevor is he made this stuff feel cool. He made it feel normal. He made it feel like, man, this is a competitive edge. Like, who wants to win?
Yeah.
Well, this is a competitive edge. Are you training your mind? I mean, you're training your craft and your body, but what are you doing for your mindset? So yeah, it was kind of heard about him. Oh, he's from Lakewood. He went to Charles Wright.
Mhm.
He first went to PLU for 2 years before he transferred
Yeah, I
to
didn't know that.
Occidental.
I didn't
To
know that.
Occidental, yeah.
Yeah.
And his dad, Bob Moad, was a legend.
Mm.
Original contributor to Chicken Soup for the Soul. Was the president of the National Society of Self-Esteem. Had curriculum around social emotional learning that 2,500 schools are using across the country. And Trevor's dad, Bob, passed away to cancer as well. So I think just having mentors who have the same passion as you and like studying and learning how they're impacting, how they're serving, and then asking yourself, well, how can I authentically, look what they're doing, but kind of make it my own. So, um, yeah, Trevor was huge.
Yeah. It's interesting how you found your way into this. Like you found your thing, right? And you've applied it. You were applying it in business, but now you do this full time because it is your thing. And it's funny to
Right.
hear you talk about, having a stutter or being afraid to speak because if you follow Collin, you'll see on social media. I mean, you're singing on social media. You're up in front of huge corporations and crowds, and man, you've turned that corner. So that's interesting. I want to talk about some of the like real time examples that you've seen in change, and I know one of the teams that you were involved with, and you can explain how. I think maybe through Trevor or on your own was the UCLA basketball team and the women's team. And if anyone knows that they just won the NCAA championship, surprised some folks, maybe not others. But the thing that I want to point out is their coach very quickly talked about mindset. I mean, very quick, like that was the headlines right after they won it. So that was part of their story is how their environment and their culture dealt with the struggles and the success. And what was your interaction with them over the years that you had?
Yeah, actually, Trevor was my gateway to UCLA.
Hmm.
Trevor had done some work with them during COVID. Coach Corey Close, amazing human, amazing leader. Always had some consultant around mindset with the team. Trevor had passed away. Coach Tasha Brown kind of led that area, and she found some of my videos online, and whether talking to Trevor or wasn't there, and we connected on Twitter, and I was like, I'm going to be in LA. I was speaking at a conference. I just went into campus and sat down with the coaching staff, and we just had a great conversation about philosophy and about, you know, you're training your skills physically, dribbling, shooting, passing, defending. You have a strength coach. You have a beautiful weight room right here. Like,
Hmm.
what's your plan for the mind? Like, are your players transferring practice into games? How do they handle pressure? How are they coming together as a team, like being unselfish and a common language and an all-in mindset. So we just talked about philosophy. I at that point, I've written a bunch of books, I had a journal, and I just shared my philosophy. And like, we'd love for you to work with the team. So for 3 years, I was 4 years, the director of mental conditioning with UCLA, and would fly into LA every month. We'd do virtual sessions. We called it the Mind Gym. We had a curriculum. And this past year was more of a kind of consultant friend helping, Tasha using these concepts, but being a part, knowing all these seniors, watching their development. And what there's a few things that stood out from this run, UCLA winning their first ever national championship. And one thing we would talk about, a key theme that helped our team develop, never going to a Final Four or never winning a national championship is, and Coach Close would echo this, is you never outperform your self-image. Self-image was one of the key concepts that we would really teach the players about. How do you see yourself? How do you talk to yourself? What do you believe is possible for you? I look at the Final Four when Arizona played Michigan. Arizona hadn't been to the Final Four since 2001. I don't think they were ready. I don't think they fully believe that we can compete and we can win.
Hmm.
Your limits begin where your vision ends. And it takes time to take those conscious, trainable thoughts to sink in and saturate into your subconscious. So it took some years of doing mind gym work every single week for the team to fully, I think, buy in and believe. Why not us? Why can't we win it out? Why can't
Mhm.
we beat UConn or South Carolina or Texas or whoever it is? Like we have, Lauren Betts was number one recruit. Kiki Rice, number one recruit. Um, we have what we need to win. But do we believe? So like working on that belief, and I loved Coach Close and Coach Tasha talking about, doing affirmations every day for 30 days and then doing we would call the ha method. I have, am, I will. They would do these I will statements and visualizing, writing down what they will, like as if it's happening now, what they want to accomplish, what they will do in the moment. And seeing that mind gym work flow over into execution and to competition was awesome to watch. And
Yeah.
talking this season with Tasha and Coach Close is just so fun to see what happens when a program fully embeds mental conditioning, not just like a one motivational talk
Mhm.
in October when the season starts, but embedding it every single day for the last however many years.
Yeah. Yes, that's the daily habit, the weekly habit, and belief, you're talking about belief. And I think that's so powerful, and you see it in athletes and you see it in business. I wrote a little piece on my website about my daughter a year ago at this time, Colin. She was headed to the state track championships. She was a contender to win the mile, and she was reluctant. She was getting nervous, and she didn't want to. She basically said, "I can't wait for this to be over. There's too much pressure." I said, "Well, what's the stress here? Why you're afraid to say that you want it because you're trying to control the outcome? Because if you don't get it, you haven't let yourself down, right? You don't want, but if you believe that you can do it, then that's going to give you extra energy and extra power." And she wrote in her journal, "I want this. I believe I can do it." She goes on to win the race by 0.25 tenths of a second. And I share that story just because I believe in running, in business, in our lives, like belief matters. And it's not just you have to have done the work and the training, but I think we sell ourselves short so often. And I just would love you to comment on that, on how you see people, you know, they're the limiter for themselves because they don't do that belief. So how do we develop that belief without bravado? We have to develop belief through that daily habit.
Yeah, I like to say confident inside, but humble outside. And the question, Greg, would be talk about belief and confidence. Where do you think confidence comes from? Don't you think confidence and belief is important? We know it is, but like, where do you think it comes from? And asking this question to audiences, they'll say things like practice or yeah, prove to yourself you've done it before. And then I say, yeah, you're not wrong, but how many times have you practiced something or you've had past success and in the moment you're an imposter. You
Mm,
have fear, you have self-doubt, and you can't execute. So I look at research from the BBC lab in the UK, 44,000 participants, research led by Andrew Lane. They found that self-talk is the number one driver of confident action. So belief comes from how are you processing, narrating, what are you training to focus on? Focus precedes fear or flow. Flow means being in the zone.
mm,
So having some daily habit systems of step one is to recognize common negative thought patterns. Have you heard someone say, I'm not a morning person. I always forget names.
yes.
Horrible directions. Parents, you should never tell your daughter she's a picky eater
Yeah.
because you're formulating a belief. So foundationally is just to recognize what are we call these ants, automatic negative thoughts. If you can name it, you can tame it. What are some negative labels? And Trevor used to say, stop saying stupid shit out loud.
Mhm,
S4OL is an acronym.
mhm,
Stop saying negative stuff about yourself. Why would you? It's impossible to achieve, the opposite of what you focus on. So if you want to hit the that your drive straight in golf, but you're thinking don't slice it into the water, why would you focus on what you don't want and
Yeah.
expect to get what you want?
Right.
So, at UCLA, we would really harped on focus on your do's, not your don'ts. After a timeout, we drop a play. Don't focus on, getting beat or missing a shot or having a turnover. Focus on the execution of what you want. Everything happens twice, first in our mind, then in real life.
Mhm.
The brain and the body cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So if there's anything fundamentally, I would watch Trevor work with his clients on what he called your advertising campaign. So you'd think about scripting some words and some phrases and some truths about overcoming hard things, your past successes, your preparation, using what are called anchor statements. If there's on a ship, there's no anchor, wind and waves will drift away. Your performance, your focus will drift away from the present moment. So anchor your focus on execution keys, head down, breathe, have empathy, be patient, you be a good storyteller. Like just anchor. But if there's anything you can learn, y'all, today about where belief comes from is words are tools.
Mhm.
The brain thinks in four dimensions. The first dimension is a word. A word, thought, spoken or heard creates the second dimension, a picture or an image the brain sees.
Mhm.
The third dimension is an emotion. And the fourth dimension is a belief.
Mhm.
I'm guessing your audience is recycling negative words or negative pictures and negative emotions over and over again, and the brain doesn't care what is true or false. What the brain cares about, what is repeated. So maybe step one, y'all, is be an observer. The very word mindful means to pay attention.
Yes,
And
catch
maybe just,
yourself. Catch it.
yeah, catch
Catch it.
it. And Jay Shetty calls it, a spot, stop, and swap.
Mm.
So can you just catch and be an observer? Be a bouncer in your brain. Nope,
Mhm.
you're not on the list.
Yeah.
Not today. I love this thought from Ali Love. Your first thought will be negative, but your second, third, fourth thought doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
I have Romans 12:2 on my forearm from the Bible, and it's don't conform to the patterns of this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So that renewing is observing, is that thought true? Said by who? Nope. I'm going to go to a different place that's rooted in truth, um, in reality. I think sometimes like Pollyanna positivity, it can backfire if
Mhm.
affirmations aren't rooted in truth, that your subconscious is like calling bullshit.
Mhm.
So just write out some things you want to think about, focus on. I've had success before. I am prepared. I am loved. Think about people who love you. Think about just simple execution keys. And if there's one thing I would tell any performer to master these 5 words, it will change your life. It changed my life. I'm not defined by this.
Mm.
Who says this cross country race defines your value to the world?
Right.
You're a human being choosing to compete in a competition. It does not define your worth.
That's Colin, those 3 minutes or whatever right there, boom, that's golden. We're not stopping, but I want people to go back and listen to that again because there's so much content in there that's valuable, man. Thanks for sharing that because I think that right there is most of the battle that we face is stopping, catching it, and diverting those thoughts. You've another tool I believe you've talked about. You wrote a book, I believe it was called Quiet Mind.
Mhm.
So, can you walk us through that? Is that a tool for
Mhm.
resetting?
Oh, yeah. And I love that you said the word reset. That's actually a drill that we teach, press the reset button. Yeah, so Quiet Mind, the origin of that book is the Mariners organization, one of their farm team managers reached out to me and is like, we have a few guys that have the yips. Now, a yip is a word that is something that you were used to be able to do physically, simple tasks like throwing the ball from
Yeah.
first base back to the pitcher. They had a coach who couldn't throw batting practice anymore. He was like hitting his players. Or the yips could be in golf, you shank your shot. Or yips, like I used to be able to speak fluently and I developed a stutter.
Hmm.
Like something that you could do normally. There's some mental block that's blocking your ability to execute. And I was like, well, I can't just send you a text message to fix it. We gotta, it's gonna take some time of just vulnerability and honesty and like doing some different things when they're practicing and trying to simulate. It's this phrasing, exposure therapy. Um, so I kind of put together a little program, and then I expand the program into a book, which is called Quiet Mind. So it's hard to execute when there's a lot of noise going on, when there's a lot of
Mm.
distractions. If you want to think about an equation, I want you to think about talent plus skill minus internal interference equals execution probability.
Mm.
The higher the internal noise, the lower the execution probability. The lower the internal interference, the higher the execution probability.
Yeah.
So bad thoughts are bad, good thoughts are good, no thought is best. And we can't get to no thought by being negative. You can't skip. So a way that we can maybe potentially access flow or get into that quiet place is have some mental systems rooted in process, rooted in identity, rooted in truth, self-talk, visualizing. That can help slip into that kind of no thought. No thought is the holy grail. It's enlightenment. It's,
Hmm.
past, no future, no present, no judgment. I'm just fully present. Time doesn't exist. And the key thing about this kind of quiet mind is the activity is the reward, not the outcome. So I can break down a few ways to get to a quiet mind if
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah. Because I mean, when I hear you say that and I think about noise, I think about all the noise around us, right? We talked about social media a little bit earlier, and our worries, our anxieties, watching others, judging of others. So walk us through that because I think we're inundated with noise and we probably control that filter and can help eliminate some of that. So yeah, let's walk through some of that.
Well, I think the first thing is I'll just tell a story from the book. I was interviewing uh, a lot of people about stress and anxiety and execution, whether they're in music or acting or sales or sport. And I came across one of my former baseball teammates who played in the major leagues, and his brother played in the major leagues. And he said, and when I was in minor leagues, I had the yips at shortstop. Like I was chucking the ball over first base. Like it was crazy. I was so embarrassed. And he said, I'll never forget he was with the Pirates organization. Our manager stopped practice and brought the whole team together in the infield. Like, all right, guys, let's just talk about it. We are going to love, I won't say his name. I'll just give him a name. We're just going to love on Josh today.
Mhm.
Josh is, he cares about you. He cares about the game, but he's going through something right now. So we're going to love on him and encourage him. And we want to encourage Josh, throw the ball as hard as you can. We don't care where it goes. We're going to support you in this process of, we know you know how to do this. You're just kind of going through a mental funk. Just if you make a mistake, we're not going to care
Hmm.
because we're going to be here with you working through this thing you're going through. But like, hey, let it rip. No worries. I'm going to be more mad if you try to lob it or try to guide it. Let it rip. And he said, I was so embarrassed. But there was something freeing about it,
Mhm.
that it's no longer like this taboo thing. We talked about it. And my first one or two throws were not great, but every throw they got better. And because we addressed it, because there was freedom to make mistakes, I got over the yips on that day. His brother was a first round draft pick and he played first base, was a phenomenal college baseball player. He couldn't throw the ball from first back to the pitcher.
Huh.
And he would go to spring training early, invite his brother down to work on this. He tried to hide it. He tried to keep it a secret. He never got better. He
Huh.
never overcame that fear. Isn't that crazy? Two
That's
brothers,
wild.
two different examples.
Yeah.
One was victory goes to the vulnerable.
Yes.
Asking for help is a sign of strength. What does the warrior and the coward have in common? They both feel fear.
Mm.
The coward feels it, hides it, runs away. The warrior goes right into battle. If you can name it, you can tame it. So part of having a quiet mind is isolation is a confidence execution killer. When you bring people into your journey, into your fear, because pain and shame cannot be healed unless it's shared.
Right.
Happiness cannot be fully actualized unless it's shared. So nobody should worry or win alone. So part of having a quiet mind is you got stuff you're dealing with that you've suppressed or you're hiding or you don't want people to know, that's going to be like a virus that's going to just rot your thinking. It's going to tell lies about yourself. The
Mhm.
moment you can open up your heart, open up your mind, and just talk through some of these fears with someone, when you verbalize it to someone you trust, it's almost like advantage, like that in itself is a healer.
Yeah.
And then I think so. Step one would be, man, don't go alone. Let's learn from the bison. Cattle can recognize when storms are coming, and cattle lay down or run away. Bison go shoulder to shoulder; they run right through the storm.
Mhm.
The longer you wait, it has weight. So if you really want to quiet that internal struggle, is find a coach, find a therapist, have a mentor, have a small group. That would be step one. But
Mhm.
I'll keep adding. But
Mhm. That's great, man. That is so powerful. They say shame can't survive the light, right? So you bring it out. And whether it's shame or worry or whatever it is, again, it's about catching that thought. I mean, all these things coalesce together, right? So taming those negative thoughts, feelings is what you're talking about. I mean, that's a powerful tool. Um, I mean, if there's
and then
more
Greg,
examples, go
and I would
ahead.
add to it,
Yeah.
and then I would, if I was coaching you, I would say, who do you want to be? Like, what do you want? What if we start designing some daily habits to help recondition, because we're unconsciously sabotaging, with
Right.
shame, fear, and guilt, and all that stuff, and thinking worst case scenarios. And so, a drill that I started doing was what I call the 4-minute mental workout, or I call it the Ha method. So, all rooted in neuroscience. These things have been taught for thousands of years. And all the research I did, I was like, all right, I want to just take all what everyone's saying and find the common patterns, and simplify it to where I can do it daily. And so it's, breathe for a minute. Greg, do you think focus is important?
Mhm.
Well, what do you do, or what do people do to train focus? They look at TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
Well, what if you close your eyes, focus on your inhale and your exhale, and reset your nervous system, reset your mind, and practice noticing a thought, not judging, coming back to your breath just for 1 minute. But you do this every day, you stack that over months, over years, you're training focus,
Mhm.
how to be present. The holy grail in performance is in the present moment.
Yeah.
Shame is in the past, fear is in the future, peak performance is in the present. And that slow exhale tells your subconscious you're not in danger. And then the next step would be this first part of the HA method, which is an acronym, HAW, I have, which is thoughts around gratitude. Gratitude lowers cortisol, it boosts your immune system, it lowers inflammation. There's just so much science on what gratitude does for
Mhm.
not only your brain, but your courage, your confidence. Is this a have to or a get to? Do you focus on what you have, what you don't have? What you focus on expands. So
Mhm.
there's more good than bad in your life. And then the A is I am, is powerful self-talk.
Mhm.
Be practicing compassionate, empowering. Imagine going into a race, Greg. I'm too slow. I can't compete with these runners.
Mhm.
This track or this course is too complicated, or the footing's not great. It's too hot. Versus, I love what I have. I trust what I have. I always run good. I believe in my preparation.
Mhm.
I've had great races before. I'm so loved. Whatever happens today, I'm gonna be okay, because I'm doing it because I love it, not because of the result. And then the I will is visualize what you want. Worrying is visualizing what you don't want. Confidence is repeatedly visualizing what you do want. And thoughts become things. It begins before it begins.
Mhm.
By doing this drill version of this in the morning, my sales, I went from 5 orders a month to 50 orders per month in 6 months, set a record. This was my number one tool. It wasn't knowing my product. It wasn't knowing the marketplace.
Yeah.
It was mentally conditioning abundance, confidence, and seeing what I wanted. And then what's crazy is, after you rehearse this, things just start falling into place. It's
Yeah.
called the RAS, the reticular activating system. You start noticing things. Things start aligning, and you just created this momentum that can't be topped. And I'll say it again, you never outperform your self-image. And that's a daily drill everyone should do. But the reality is, Greg, is, we have adults listening to the podcast. We have to respect their right to be average.
Hmm. So what does that
Y-
mean?
Oh, well, people think that they have choices.
Hmm.
The higher you go, the fewer choices you have. And if you think you're going to train, whether it's fitness or your ability to make money or to serve or to win more, just scrolling through your phone or watching Netflix or doing the same, spreadsheets, here's Excel spreadsheet, emails. If you're not changing yourself from the inside out, your outside world is not going to change.
Right.
If you win the inner game, then you will win the outer game. But if you nothing about your inner game, your identity, your self-talk, what you're focusing on, your habits, your values, if you're not intentionally designing, practicing those, nothing's going to change. And would you agree, Greg, that everybody has obviously your makeup from your family history and genetics plays a role, but everyone probably can be fit if they want to. They can
Yeah.
physically be fit,
Hmm.
but it takes effort. It
Yeah.
takes habits.
Right.
Being mentally fit is no different. It takes consistency. It takes habits,
Yeah.
but not everybody's willing to do it.
Right. And what you were talking about, the change that you saw in business there, I believe part of that too is your energy changes, right? Your energy changed as you started to have success with that. And then I think that feeds itself in a way, right? So probably I'm guessing, I'm not a coach, a mental coach, but the more you do this, it's like a flywheel, right? It begins to feed itself. Like that energy you're bringing every day is then supporting it again the next day. And consistency, I've seen in running and in business, is also a key. So consistently doing this, it's not something you do once a week, once a month, but the consistency creates the flywheel of
Mhm.
success.
Yeah, that's very true. And I love this thought from author of Atomic Habits, James Clear. We don't rise to our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. So having systems on being a gatekeeper of your thought life. You would never let people with muddy, dirty shoes walk all over your carpet, but you're letting negative thoughts trample your mind every day. So like just being aware of like, okay, what am I focusing on? And then intentionally designing different thoughts. But then having spots in your day and your performance where you are going to what's called habit stack, whether it's affirmations or gratitude or
Hmm.
visualizing or what you say yes or no to, or when you're in conflict, what are my core values? I'm gonna honor these core values or standards in that we commit as a family, as a company. Like what are we, behaviors we commit not to do, behaviors we commit to do. But I think, yeah, understanding just the habit loop, cue, response, reward, craving,
Hmm.
and creating a better environment to activate the habits that we're just kind of sharing.
Yeah. You mentioned family. I wanted to ask you about that because I think it's very important if we can apply this to parenting for the parents that are, and parenting. I believe you have 5 kids. Am I correct? Yeah.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
you got a busy household. And I'm just wondering how you apply this to parenting, how we all can do it without our kids turning us off, because of the way we try to guide them, with their own mental habits, their own, affirmations. How do you coach parents? How do you apply it to your own life?
Mhm.
Because, you're a dad and perhaps the kids are like, not today, dad. I don't
Mhm.
want the mindset coach, but
Mhm.
we can shape them. We can help them as we help ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I know the number one driver of behavior is identity. So do you have a family slogan?
We don't. I mean, I don't have one that jumps out at me, yeah.
Okay, so our family slogan is Henderson's Help. And that identity family slogan is reinforced. I try throughout the week to ask every single kid, who'd you help today?
Mm,
And really celebrate service.
that's great.
And being unselfish, but that's an identity.
Yeah.
Another habit we'll do is it's called hunt the good stuff. You know, on the way to school, we'll talk about tell me something good. Like, what are you excited about?
Yeah.
What's making you happy? Like, what's going on this week at school or with your friends? Like, hunt the good stuff. Tell me something good. Let's just talk about it. Um, some dinners we play is called happy dinner, where everyone will go around the table and say one thing that made them happy today.
Mhm.
Then we'll count to three. 1, 2, 3. Happy. We'll pound the table. Just focusing on there's more good than bad if we
Yeah.
choose to focus on it. Um, I also think it's important that parents let kids be kids and let them do their thing. I think a lot of parents are living vicariously through their kids, whether it's dance, whether it's music, whether it's sports. And Bruce Brown is from the Northwest, and he did a lot of research and teaching on this years ago. He interviewed thousands of college athletes who got a scholarship, and he's like, "Well, what'd your parents do or say, you know, to help you have the confidence to find success?" And he found it was these 6 words: after a game or a performance, whether it's debate or orchestra or um, t-ball, you just say these things after a performance. I love to watch you play, and you
Yeah.
don't say anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
I watch parents micromanage and overanalyze and critique everything. Well, I'm spending all this money for them, you know, practicing. I want to see. Well, are you spending all the money for you to feel good, to post things on Facebook?
Mhm.
Or is it truly coming from them? You can't be great at something unless you truly love it and if you have passion for it. So I think parents, let's look at some stats today. 70% of youth athletes quit by the age of 13.
Mhm.
I9 Sports did research. 31% of youth athletes wish their parents weren't at their games.
Wow.
Mom and dad, do your kids have their best performances when you're not there? I wonder why that is.
Mhm.
Um, and I surveyed, you know, years ago when I started doing this work, I worked with a lot of young athletes, and I did a survey one year about fear. And I had the respondents like, when you make a mistake and you feel fear in your body, like, what are you thinking about? The number one response I got was my parents,
Yeah.
the car ride home or having to explain myself. So if you want to create total release, freedom, presence, creativity, joy, let your kid be a kid. How long does it take your kid to be a kid after the game?
Mhm.
That's why grandparents are the best fans,
Yeah.
because grandparents don't say anything. But unfortunately, the ego's the enemy. The parents make the performance about them. And, you know, I'll ask parents, what's more important, your kid's relationship or how well they do?
Mhm. Yeah. You know, that dinner talk and that drive that you were talking about, I think that's so critical. And you talked about gratitude earlier. I think that's another thing that the kids see, hear you. Are you talking about gratitude? Are you talking about all the good things your family has in their life? You know, all the things that went right today versus all the things that are going wrong, right? So I think instilling that gratitude early on is part of their mental strength development.
And also just not allowing them to speak negatively about themselves.
Yeah, totally.
It's we don't allow no stinking thinking in this house. You know, those are bad words when we say can't and don't, like, that is a bad word.
That is, that's golden stuff. I wanna ask you about your book. You got a book coming out,
Mhm.
uh, The Oz Mindset, I think it is. It's coming out this summer, The Oz Method, I'm sorry. But
Mhm.
give us a take on that and, what people can expect from that.
Yeah, thank you for asking, Greg, I really appreciate it. The Oz method is a philosophy around influence. It's the psychology of influence. Think about behavior change. So mindset is how you're working on your own, you know, how you experience yourself. Well, influence is how do people experience you? This could be in your relationship, this could be in parenting, it could be with your
Mhm,
neighbor, it could be with clients, customers, if you're in HR, you don't if you're an engineer, this is not just sales, but it kind of is sales. Like everyone's sharing ideas and hopefully people change behaviors. Like how well can you craft an idea that gets people motivated to move and to also follow you. So it's really characters are from The Wizard of Oz, and it was inspired by a work trip I did. I used to be a national sales trainer with a sales professional in Kansas who was struggling with sales. So I was like, man, you got to get out of Kansas. You're just talking about yourself. That's think black and white, old, outdated, not effective. Like
Yeah,
Dorothy was not super happy in Kansas. It was
right.
black and white. There was Dorothy's dog got stolen by the Wicked Witch who lives Wicked Witch, like some random neighbor, and it's just a lot of drama. There was a tornado, and Dorothy landed in this different world. That was the first film in Technicolor.
Right.
So Oz is a metaphor for getting out of your what I
Mm,
call being an aggressive, selfish seller. You're an ass.
mhm,
You just focus on yourself and your product. Where Oz is like a metaphor. Dorothy literally put on the shoes of another witch. Like it's that empathetic curiosity of like getting into someone else's world, creating a vibrant, colorful, what I call break the pattern. The brain pays attention to patterns.
mhm,
Boring will put you out of business. The brain does not pay attention to boring. So how can you kind of again craft a world and a journey that's collaborative? The in the first original story by L. Frank Baum, book written in 1900, the scarecrow wanted a brain. So think of this like change transformation. Like, what are you cultivating? Belief in yourself, but the other function of the brain is learning.
mhm,
What are you doing to learn about your clients and those that you're working with? Context before content.
mhm,
Connect before correct. Learn their needs, desires, their background before you force your worldview onto them. And the Tin Man wanted a heart, which the heart represents emotion.
mm,
And the best way we evoke emotion as human beings is storytelling. Craft a story, create a story.
mhm,
The main character is the listener, not you. We're the guide on the side. We're the guide. They're the main character, but like use emotional storytelling to create great pictures because emotions, story evokes emotion, and storytelling does three things. It simplifies a message. It creates what I call simulation. They can experience as if they're doing it, and it's the strongest tool for memory. And the third character is a lion who wanted courage. So
right.
vulnerability,
Yeah,
handling objections, doing difficult things. It's called executive presence. And the yellow brick road is your process and your habits that you can repeat. You have a system. You have a focus. Starve your distractions, feed your focus. Like you have a daily process of like, what are you executing every day? And this rep that I mentored went from being on a performance enhancement plan to President's Club in like 11 months.
mm,
So it's like more people need this.
yeah, yeah. That's great. So that comes out this summer. Is
It
it? I
does.
mean, another month or so
Yes,
because we're
it
here in late
does.
May. So, um, Master Your Mindset is your podcast. Little
Um,
nuggets that you're constantly sending out. I think they're so powerful. I want to really encourage people to check that out because again, that could be part of your daily habit. Get that 5 minute piece. Think about that, study that, because I believe like we have one life here. We all want to have a better life in one way or another. You invest in yourself by listening to guides like yourself, reading these books. I think it pays off in your personal and professional life. And so I really appreciate you taking the time, Colin, and doing what you do because it's impactful. And I think people have to listen to this one a couple of times because there's so much good stuff in there. Um, final thought. If I missed anything obvious that you wanted to hit on, please add that and then let people know how they can find you. And also, I know you do corporate things, team things. Do you do one-on-one coaching? And if you do, how do people figure that find you in that way?
well, I do a small group program called Inner Game, where it's a small cohort for 6 months. We meet a few times a month, and I
Mm,
coach you one on one. I've really kind of gone away from just one on one,
mm,
just by itself. I feel like real change. Small group is the best environment to create change
mhm.
because you have someone walking alongside you, someone holding you accountable. Show me your friends, I'll show you your habits. Show me your habits, I'll show you your future. And I found that that's the most powerful way. But yeah, you can find me on Amazon. My books are on Amazon. You can pre-order the Oz Method right now. You can check me out on LinkedIn and Instagram at Collin Henderson. There's a Quiet Mind course on my website,
Mm.
thecollinhenderson.com. Podcast Master Mindset. But Greg, just thank you for the opportunity just to have these conversations. The mission of my company, Master Mindset, is to transform lives and normalize mindset training. So hopefully maybe there was one listener that got the messaging or the inspiration or the story to like, yes, I'm going to choose today to rethink how I'm thinking, to design how I think, have more compassion for myself. But we're normalizing doing the work.
Yeah. I
Well, thank you for
appreciate it,
that.
man. Yeah, you
Yeah.
bet. Well, this listener got something out of it. I can guarantee you. I know others will too. So thanks for being here today. And I know people will continue to eat up your content. It's great stuff. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thank you.